Have you ever walked into a room and felt eyes on you, but you told yourself, no, they can't be looking at me? What if I told you that you might be far more attractive than you realize, and that the reason you don't notice is because your brain is wired to underestimate your own value? Think about it. How many times in your life have you brushed off compliments, ignored subtle signals from women, or assumed that people's attention was just coincidence? What if all those moments were not accidents at all, but signs you've been blind to? Most men grow up believing attraction is about the perfect jawline, flashy lifestyle, or being taller than everyone else. But here's the unsettling truth. Attraction is written in the smallest, almost invisible cues you give off, and women notice them long before you do. There's a strange paradox about truly attractive men. They often don't feel attractive because their qualities are rooted in behavior, presence, and energy, not in mirrors or Instagram filters. When you walk confidently without trying too hard, when your silence makes people curious, when your gestures communicate calm strength, those are things women sense instantly. They don't tell you about it, because the more mysterious you are, the more magnetic you become. And here's the kicker. You're not supposed to notice it. That's why women feel drawn in, because the moment a man tries to act attractive, the spell is broken. Imagine this. A woman locks eyes with you a second longer than normal. You look away, thinking it's nothing. But to her, it's confirmation of something she already felt. Your presence shifted the energy in the room. Attraction works like gravity. It's unseen, but undeniable. And many of the signs you miss are happening daily, right in front of you. The tilt of her head when you speak, the way people listen when you share a thought, or even how friends look to you for direction without realizing it. These are not random. These are signals of your magnetism. But here's the problem. Most men sabotage themselves. They tell themselves they're invisible, when in reality, women are watching closely. And because you don't believe it, you never act on it. That's why so many men never uncover the truth about their own silent power. You might already be that man women can't forget, but if you keep ignoring the signs, you'll keep living as if you're ordinary, when you never were. One of the most powerful signs you're more attractive than you think is how people respond to your presence without words. Think about it. When you enter a space, do conversations pause for a moment? Do eyes shift toward you even if no one says anything? That's not coincidence. Women especially are hypersensitive to male presence. They pick up on micro-expressions, on how relaxed or tense your body language is, on whether you carry yourself with certainty or with doubt. You might think you're just walking normally, but she feels the difference. The quiet weight of a man who knows who he is speaks louder than a man who tries to prove it. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Women notice the subtleties that men ignore. The way you stand when you're unaware, the slight calmness in your voice when you're not trying to impress, the ease in your gestures, all these are invisible indicators of masculine confidence. And when a woman notices them, she doesn't announce it. She doesn't say, "Wow, you're attractive because of how steady you look right now." No, she just feels something pulling her closer, something she can't fully explain. And you, because you're inside your own head, completely miss it. Another hidden sign is how people mirror you. Ever notice someone matching your tone, your posture, even your pace when walking beside you? That's not random. It's subconscious admiration. Humans naturally mirror those they respect or feel drawn toward. Women especially do this when attraction is present. But here's the cruel irony. You don't see it because you're too focused on what you lack. You're thinking about your hairline, your jaw, your money, when in reality, she's locked into the aura you give off without even trying. Attraction isn't about perfection. In fact, the men who obsess over looking flawless often come off as desperate. What women truly feel magnetized by is authenticity wrapped in composure. When you're not performing, when you simply exist with certainty, you radiate something rare. And women sense rarity immediately. That's why some men who don't even fit the standard image of beauty still have women's attention. They embody presence. So the question is, are you paying attention to these moments, or are you dismissing them? Because the signs are everywhere. In the stolen glance across the cafe, in the way her voice softens when she addresses you, in how strangers seem unusually polite around you. These are whispers of attraction you've been trained not to believe. But once you start noticing them, your entire reality shifts. Another sign you're more attractive than you realize is when women test you without you even understanding it. You might think she's being playful, sarcastic, or even dismissive, but often it's not rejection. It's curiosity. Women test men they find intriguing. They want to see if your calmness is real, or if it cracks under pressure. If you've ever noticed a woman teasing you, challenging you on something small, or questioning your opinion in a slightly provocative way, it's rarely about the words she says. It's about whether your energy stays steady. That test alone is proof she feels something for you, because no woman wastes her effort on a man she's not drawn to. Pay attention to how often you catch women looking for reasons to interact with you. Maybe she asks unnecessary questions. Maybe she laughs at a joke that wasn't even funny. Maybe she brushes past you in a way that lingers just a second longer. Those are not accidents. Women are too intuitive, too deliberate. If she does it once, maybe it's nothing. If she does it repeatedly, it's a sign. Attraction leaves fingerprints everywhere. It's just subtle enough that most men never realize. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most men downplay their own power because they've been conditioned to believe that unless a woman spells it out, it doesn't exist. But women almost never spell it out. Why? Because attraction thrives in mystery. The more you don't know, the more powerful the dynamic becomes for her. She enjoys watching you doubt yourself, watching you hesitate, because it makes your strength seem even rarer when you finally display it. And think about this. Have you ever noticed women remembering tiny details about you, things you mentioned once in passing? That's not casual listening. That's investment. When someone values your presence, they hold on to the fragments of who you are. She might recall your favorite drink, the way you describe your goals, or a random story you told months ago. That's not friendship. That's attraction camouflaged as interest. And too often, men dismiss it as, she's just being nice. No. Women don't waste mental energy on men they don't feel something for. You're attractive in ways you've been taught not to trust. Every smirk she hides, every playful challenge, every unnecessary question is her way of saying what she won't dare admit directly. You've captured her attention. The only question is, do you notice it? Or do you keep convincing yourself you're invisible? One of the clearest, but most overlooked signs of your attractiveness is how people treat your silence. Most men fear silence because they think it makes them boring or awkward. But when a man has presence, silence becomes magnetic. If you've ever been in a conversation where your pauses made her lean in closer, where your lack of words made her fill the space nervously with her own, that is attraction speaking louder than any line you could deliver. Women don't lean into emptiness. They lean into energy. And if your stillness makes her restless, you've already affected her more than you realize. Another overlooked indicator is respect that comes without effort. Notice how friends, co-workers, even strangers adjust themselves around you. Maybe men give you more space when you pass by. Maybe women straighten their posture when you're near. Maybe people choose their words more carefully when you enter the discussion. These unconscious behaviors reveal that your presence alone changes dynamics. That doesn't come from looks alone. It comes from a deeper level of attraction tied to dominance, awareness, and subtle confidence. Here's what most men miss. Attraction is rarely loud. It doesn't always show up as flirtation or obvious compliments. More often, it hides in restraint. The way she avoids eye contact because she's flustered. The way she suddenly fixes her hair when you approach. The way she laughs a little too quickly at something simple. Those are not coincidences. They're nervous responses to your energy. And yet, because you don't label yourself as attractive, you dismiss them. Even envy can be a sign. If you've ever noticed other men getting strangely competitive with you, trying to one-up you in conversation, or subtly undermine you in front of women, it's usually because they sense what you don't. They pick up on the fact that women's eyes linger on you, and it threatens them. Rivalry often exposes your hidden value before you see it yourself. So ask yourself this: how many times have you brushed off women's fidgeting, men's competitiveness, or the sudden quiet when you enter a room as nothing? How many times have you mistaken silence for weakness when in truth it was your greatest weapon? Attraction isn't always in the spotlight. It lives in the shadows, in the reactions people try to hide. And if you've ever caused those reactions without lifting a finger, you are far more magnetic than you've been led to believe. There's another sign of your hidden attractiveness that you've probably ignored your whole life: how women remember you long after you've left. Think about it. Have you ever had someone reach out unexpectedly, a woman texting you out of nowhere, or running into someone who recalls a tiny detail you forgot? That's not by accident. When a man is truly magnetic, his energy lingers. Even in your absence, she replays moments, replays your words, replays your presence. If you've ever left a place and felt like nothing happened, only to find later that someone couldn't stop talking about you, that is attraction you didn't even notice unfolding. And here's something most men never realize: attraction is often quiet obsession. It's not always fireworks or dramatic confessions. It's the subtle way she keeps orbiting around your life, finding excuses to appear again, showing up in spaces she knows you'll be. You think it's a coincidence, but no, she's placing herself in your path because you left a mark without trying. That kind of pull doesn't come from looks or money. It comes from being unapologetically yourself, which is far rarer than you imagine. Even rejection can sometimes be a twisted form of attraction. If a woman acts overly dismissive, mocking, or cold toward you, it might not mean she feels nothing. It could mean she feels too much. Some women react to attraction with defense because the intensity unsettles them. They don't want you to see how affected they are, so they cover it with sarcasm or distance. If you've ever walked away from a woman who seemed overly critical, there's a chance she was fighting the very pull she didn't want to admit. What separates men who realize their power from those who don't is awareness. Most attractive men live blind, always searching for proof of something they already have. But the men who wake up to it, the ones who understand the glances, the nervous laughter, the competitive energy from other men, those men stop chasing validation. And that's when their magnetism explodes, because nothing is more attractive than a man who no longer doubts the signals right in front of him. You don't need to force attraction. You don't need to perform. The signs are already around you, written in the eyes, voices, and behaviors of everyone you meet. The only question is, will you open your eyes and see them, or will you keep living like a man who doesn't know his own power? Here's the truth that should shake you to your core. You are already more attractive than you've been led to believe. Not because of your haircut, your bank account, or the gym hours you've put in. No, your attractiveness lives in the moments you ignore. The way people adjust their tone around you, the nervous laughter women try to hide, the subtle tension your silence creates. These aren't fantasies, they're signals. Signals you've been blind to because you've been conditioned to doubt yourself. Most men walk through life begging for proof they're enough. They chase likes, swipe endlessly on apps, or exhaust themselves trying to impress women who already felt something from the very beginning. The tragedy is that they miss the game entirely. Attraction isn't loud, it whispers. And if you don't train yourself to hear those whispers, you'll always think you're invisible, even when eyes are on you. Understand this: women rarely verbalize attraction. They show it through testing you, mirroring you, remembering you, or competing for your attention without saying it out loud. The more you recognize these cues, the less you'll need to chase anyone. Because once you see the truth, You realize you were never the invisible man. You were the one she couldn't stop noticing. And here's the part that stings. Ignoring your own magnetism costs you more than relationships. It costs you opportunities, friendships, influence. Because attraction is not just about romance, it's about power. The man who understands his presence controls the room, commands respect, and creates connections most men only dream of. But it starts with awareness. The signs are already there. They've always been there. You just didn't believe them. So, now I want to turn this back to you. Think about your life. Have you ever noticed a moment when a woman acted differently around you? Maybe laughed too quickly, tested you, or remembered something small you'd said long ago? Do you see now that those weren't accidents, but signs of attraction you overlooked? Comment below with your answer. I want to hear your story. And if this opened your eyes, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who needs to hear these truths today. Because men all around you are blind to their own power. Don't let them stay blind. Don't let yourself stay blind.